When it comes to learning music theory, I believe you need to know just enough to be able to functionally play music. In order to be able to make your own music, you are going to need various skill sets. First of all, you're going to have to be able to play an instrument or be able to program melodies and harmonies on a computer. In that case, your computer is your instrument if you're a producer. You need to know how to make melody, or at least sound it out. So you'll need to know some scales. Major scale is a good place to start, and really all scales kind of reference back to it. You'll need to know how to harmonize the major scale, which is where you take triads from each major scale note. You stack thirds to build the triads. Once you have that, you'll want to be able to write chord progressions from those chords. So you have those chords as options, but what's going to happen is you're going to play a chord, usually what's called as the one chord, and then you're going to move to a different chord, and then you're going to maybe move to another different chord, and you're going to end at the one again. This is the basic. There's rules, and rules are to be broken they can be bent and broken once you've mastered them. But in general, you'll start on the one chord or the triad that's built off of the first note of the major scale, and then you'll end up back at it. And the way progressions work is you'll move from that one chord and you'll go to another chord, and it will change the mood of how things feel. And then you'll move to a third chord, usually, and then it'll change how it feels again. And there are different types of chord progressions where you can go from one chord to the next, to the next, to the next, but you always end up back at the one, or else it feels weird, unless you really know what you're doing. Which I can't say that I really got that far when it comes to the chordal harmony stuff. If I delve into that arena, it's really more by feel. But there are people who study these concepts and learn how exactly all of the different rules for how you can do these things. But to be able to play, again, you need an instrument. You need to be able to move to find the major scale, which then you'll need to know how that's done. You'll need to know how to find whole steps and half steps. What are notes? What are pitches? Then what are the names of those pitches? Then how do you navigate from one pitch to the next? How do you then use the understanding of intervals of whole steps and half steps to create the major scale, using the major scale pattern formula, which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Starting on any note, if you jump upward by those intervals, you'll have a major scale. Then you can harmonize that or find the triads of that major scale by stacking thirds, which means you take the note and as you go through, you take the first note of the major scale. As you're counting through the major scale, C, D, E, right in the key of C, you'll use C as your root note. You'll skip D, and E will be your third. Then you'll skip F and then G, and you'll have C, E, G. So you're skipping a note each time, and then choosing every other note as you go through the scale. This is how you stack thirds. And you can do it again to create the seventh chords, and even farther for extensions, ninths and 11ths, 13ths, all this. So this is how you find the chords. And then more advanced is making the chord progressions and moving from chord to chord to chord. And that would be what I consider the background music. Once you have your background music, then you can play melody over it. And usually the way that works, I do this naturally by ear for the most part. But I also understand that the melodic note that you're playing or singing at the time is going to feel or sound good or sound like it's blending in right depending on what chord is happening in the background. So if I play C, E, G, I'm playing a C major chord, and I play a note that's out of the key of C, it's probably going to sound really weird. You understand? If I play a note that's just not in the key of C, it's going to clash. And that could at times be a good thing, but at first you want to find what sounds like it belongs at any given time. So you have a chord going on in the background, and then you play the note, the melodic note over it. If you play in your melody a note that's already playing during the chord, it's going to fit. If you play a note that's not already part of the chord, it's going to still fit, but maybe create a little bit of tension. And the melody will push and pull off of the harmony or the chords that are happening in the background. Like I said, for me, there are definitely rules, because I took a course or two in college on music theory, and I learned how to write all the scales and to write them on the sheet music and all this, and I know that there are rules for how to resolve harmonies and all of that, like in classical musical training. But even that for me is still just, you're looking at stuff that people felt out hundreds of years ago. They felt it out. It feels right. You know what I mean? So for me, it's all feel. Like, music is all feel. That's what it is. It's feel. And then you're working backwards from the feel to try to understand, like, man, how can I make it feel like that again? Why did it feel like that? Why did that feel right? Why did that feel wrong? And the musical theory concepts kind of help to approximate why that might be the case. It's not a perfect science. But boy, these guys that had the patience to study this, they really figured out a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, always trust your gut. Always trust what feels right to you. And then you're communicating, which for me is the main purpose of music anyway, is to be able to express or communicate something that you're feeling to another human being or to a group of human beings. So I like to think of it as functional music theory. Who cares about some concepts written in a book? What I care about is being able to take from that and be able to capture how I feel and express that and convey that. To be able to make something that makes another human being feel something or understand to some degree what I'm feeling at the time as I'm writing. So these are the skills that you need to be able to songwrite. Some ability to feel out melody. Again, you'll probably be using, whether or not that sounds good is going to depend on what's happening in the background or the harmony, the chords. But the chords of themselves are derived from the major scale. If we're talking, regular music that we all grew up with, in the West, it's going to be derived essentially different variants of the major scale. You're taking the major scale, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and then those intervals creates, when you play them in a row, the mode or the feeling of the major scale, Ionian. Then you're going to be able to take that, each note, and stack thirds to create the harmonized major scale. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major. So 1, 4, 5 are major, 2, 3, 6 are minor, and the 7th is diminished, which is like a minor with a flat 5. These are all things I've talked about on my channel. I mean, if you're interested in any of this, you could go back and go through all the stuff. It's all kind of there, and this information is everywhere, you know. But then you end up back on the root note again. After the 7, you have that. So those are the 7 chords that you can optionally use. But again, there's rules for how to use them. If you use them all weird, you're gonna have an all weird kind of sound. You really want to be able to, you know, there are different chord changes that sound good. And for me personally, I made many songs. I've helped to produce a lot of songs, because I do actually have that skill set as well of recording and producing and mixing and mastering and all this kind of stuff. And pretty much I go with my gut at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean that having a little mental knowledge can't help at times. Or perhaps if you're trying to make something and you're in a rut and you're not really feeling it, like I don't feel anything right now, then you could use some musical theory concepts to start to get things that have been long established to sound good, that are universally understood to sound good and agreed upon. And you could take those and start to use those concepts to get the juices flowing. And then you use your gut to fine-tune things, to get it to feel right. Oh, yeah, I know that if I do 2-5-1 chord change, that sounds good. But, like, right here, okay, I don't really want to do... And then you start making decisions. Okay, I think I want to add the 7 in here. Yeah, I like how the 7 sounds right now. And I think... No, but I know technically the second chord... or like, for example, like, I don't know. In that context, I'm not hearing it in my head right now. But what I'm saying is that, like, there will be times where I'll make a decision that I like how the chord sounds when I drop the major third out of the chord. I just want to hear the 1, the 5, and the 7. Or I want to do the add 9 chord. I want to do the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. And that feels different, even though it's still a major 7 chord, but when you add the 9, somehow it changes. The major 7 chord is there still, but now that you added the 9 in, you have a major 9 chord, it just sounds different, it feels different. Maybe you want to play the 9 and not leave the 7 in. Maybe you want to play without the 3rd. Maybe your fingers can't find all the notes and you gotta leave out one of the tones, but it just feels good. The way the strum sounds is chunkier when you play it on this position of the neck. It's like, these are things you can decide in the moment when you understand what you're doing. But this is more or less the whole overall picture of, this is how I've learned music. And I've been able to use these concepts to create. I understand the things that I talked about in this video. And then the rest is just mastering techniques on the instruments. Like, I'm a guitar player. I know a little bit of piano, a little bit of bass. I can play the drums a little bit, you know. And I can program on a computer too. And I have some basic skills of, like, singing harmonies, being able to layer harmonies vocally, you know, and things like this. But it's really all the same thing. It's just the things we talked about here. You're ultimately allowing 2 notes to sound out at the same time. And those 2 notes playing at the same time, and the way that they play off of each other, that creates a color. This is an interval. 2 notes at the same time that are a certain distance apart from each other, and the way they play off of each other and how that feels, that's an interval, a color, a flavor. They may not be playing at the exact same time, but if you play one and then you play one right after, the memory of the first one is still there. So it's a similar dynamic. And this is really what harmony is. Intervals. You add a third note, now you got three at the same time. How are they all playing off of each other? Like this. Now they're all playing off of each other. Now you start to add in some melody. You sing some melody over it. How does that feel? Now other things start to take place. Like, oh man, like, I like how that sounded, but the tone is not right. Anyway, this is the whole world. I love music. I love this stuff. And I just want to share, it's been a tremendous blessing in my life, and I want to help others to experience this. And so, these are the skills that you need to be able to make it happen. You can go farther. You could go into advanced theoretical concepts, jazz, substitution chords, modes, all these things. But if you understand this basic set of concepts, melody, what are intervals? What is the major scale? How do you find it? How do you make triads from the major scale to create the harmonized major scale? Now, how do you do chord changes and progressions from that? Now you're in charge. Now you get to start to make the decision of how things are going to move and feel. And you add chord melody over it. Then maybe you add a second melody to harmonize with the first melody, which is still intervals. You got this, all of this going on, and you got a strong command of it. You're a real musician. You're a real musician. Now just be able to play with competence on your instrument or instruments of choice. All right. Thanks for watching. I will continue to share my insights on this channel. And I hope for your sake that you can arrive at the place where you're as confident as I am with these things. And I definitely know that you can. I know that you can do it, but it will take time and commitment and consistency. Pick one topic at a time. Commit to practicing that. If you're busy, like me, that's an understatement. 10 minutes on a one topic a day will do the trick. The one concept, just keep coming back to it every day for 10 minutes. No matter how dumb you feel, how it feels like it doesn't make sense. All right, maybe you need to type the topic into YouTube or Google or whatever, another time. Not today. You look at it for somebody else's lesson, like something. You want to find something that makes it click. Keep coming back. When you've mastered that concept, move on to the next one, and it builds on itself like this. Okay, for now.